This is the first of another three-part mini-series on, this time, how to work with strings. When you're an application developer, you're going to have to take user input from dialog boxes and text boxes. You're going to have to output data, string, text, whatever you want to call it, and onto a computer screen or onto a print report. You're going to have to sometimes exchange data between two disparate computer systems by taking this data, parsing through it, changing the text into another format, and then sending it to the other system. There's going to be a lot of need for working with strings of data, parsing through it, changing it in some way, re-presenting it to the user, and so on. And that's what I want to cover in this little three-part mini-series. And specifically, we're going to talk in this video about using string escape sequences, and then also using the string.format method, and we're going to look at other capabilities of the string class and the string builder in the next two videos. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start with something that seems to be fairly innocuous. You may have run across this as you were playing around with C# on your own time. You just want to print something like this to the console window. Simple, right? So console.writeLine my string. And so you'll notice, though, that as soon as IntelliSense clears away, we get a little squiggly line right after that / character, and it says unrecognized escape sequence. You're like, that's kind of odd. Maybe that's just a mistake and we can run the application anyway, and we see that we can't. And the error message is indeed an unrecognized escape sequence. Why is this happening? Well, this character, the / in C#, has a special connotation as what's called an escape sequence. And we use this to do things that are special within the application, using double quotes, adding a new line, things of that nature. And I'll demonstrate all of those and show you where you can find a complete list of escape sequences. So in order to escape the escape sequence, I'll have to use two /. This first / is the escape sequence character. The next / is indeed a /. So now when we run this application, we'll see what we originally intended. Go to your C:/D drive. Okay. So let's look at some of these other special cases. All right, I want to use double quotes within my literal string. How do I do it? As you can see right now, I am putting an early end to my literal string with this second set of double quotes. And so then it would expect to see some sort of operator or at least an end of line character, but I have none, so I'm getting a lot of red squiggly lines here. So the escape sequence character to the rescue here. And I'm just going to put a / before each of the two interior double quotes, and now I'll run the application and I can get my so-called life to appear on screen. Great. Now there's a way to use two write lines to print out two lines, but what if I just wanted to do it in line? So for example, how do I create a new line? Well, you create it just like I did here with a escape sequence character and then N for new line. Let's run this. And you can see it creates a new line where the rest of the phrase, the literal string, is printed. Alright, so for a complete list, what you can do is go to this blog post out on MSDN, what character escape sequences are available. And we've already looked at a couple of them, and then some of them are not all that useful, quite honestly, in console or in Windows applications. They're kind of holdovers from the DOS days or even from Unix. Okay. Alright, actually let's keep that one. And let's move on now that we've looked at escape sequences. Let's move on to another topic of string.format. And we may have actually used this a number of times already. It's pretty neat because it allows you to substitute values inside of a literal string with values that are added on to the end of this method through a series of unlimited arguments that come off to the right hand side. So for example, let's just go string, my string equals string.format. Then inside of here, I'm going to add make, and we'll do a silly example with some hard-coded strings, but you would probably use variables or parameters to use as the replacement for some of these replacement characters. And so what I do is use a series of open and close curly braces with a number inside, and each of these numbers will correspond to these arguments. So here's arg0, and so let's go ahead and type in BMW, and then as I hit a comma, notice that there's another overloaded version of this with arg1. So let's go ahead and say, oh, I don't know, 745 Li, and I could keep doing this and creating additional object arguments if I wanted to, but we're just going to use 2 for now. And again, just literal strings, but when I run the application, it replaces whatever's on the inside with whatever arguments I passed in on the outside of that literal string. Pretty neat. But that's not the only thing that string.format can do. It can also be used to format numerical values and make them look more attractive for a number of different reasons. For example, let's do this, string.format, and say I wanted to format some currency. So I want to say the value of the stock is, and here I'll do my format replacement sequence there. But in addition to that, I'm going to use colon and C because I want to format this input parameter, which I'll just type at 123.45, as currency. And so when we run it, you can see that it changes 123.45 into a formatted value of type currency, and it looks at my machine and understands that I'm running the American English version of Windows 7. If you were running from a different country, you would see your own whatever it is, currency character in front of that value. Okay, so that's pretty neat, but there's even more that we can do with this. If I want to just format a number with, you know, commas, because in the United States, when we represent like 3,457,500, there would be commas after the seventh digit for the millions, and then for the thousands there would be another comma. So to get that to format correctly, we'll go string.format, and then inside here I'm going to use that same replacement character and then use the colon, and then I'm going to use a capital N for number, and then I'll just do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Okay, just a really big number there so we can see it nicely formatted. I'll see what happens. All right, so you can see that we get 1 comma 2 3 4 comma 5 6 7 comma 8 9 0 dot 0 0. Okay, and there's even more we can do. For example, let's do a date time, which we'll talk about later today. My date equals new date time, and I'm going to pass in a let's go 1/7/2009. All right, and then I want to brother. Okay, let's start over on that. So let's find okay, year 2009, the month 1, and the day 7. All right, that should work. All right, so now I want to format and just pull out the month value. So string.format. Now, I don't want to represent this as 1. I may have something where I'm trying to build a file name and I want it to be 01. How would I do that? If it's an integer value, it's just going to be 1. If I tack on a 0 no matter what happens when we get to 10, 11, 12? So this is where string.format comes to the rescue. So string.myString equals string.format, and then we're going to use this 0 colon, and then I'm going to use 0 0, which means replace as many of these characters, these formatting characters, as possible. If you have one value here, so for example, my date dot month, it will, if it's January, we want to see 01. If it's October, we want to see 10 printed to screen. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's run the example. And I have a problem here. Just gonna do that. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and run it. There we go. And so since it's January, it'll print it out as 01. Let's see what happens when we change the month value to 10. Will it be 010? No, it formats it correctly as 10. All right, so if you ever need to format a date and you want to use the numerical months or days, but it should always take 2 characters, and sometimes you need to do that for files or whatever the case might be, formatting it so you can give it to another computer that understands and has 2 spaces specifically set aside for the month or the day or the or the hour or whatever the case might be. That's how you want to do it. Okay, let's move on from there. All right, what if you wanted to format a value as a percentage? So string my string equals string.format, and we're going to say take the first position and use that as a P for a percentage. And then I'm just going to do a decimal .127. So this should be 12.7%. I would like to see it represented as 12.7%. Whoops. When I print it out to the console window. So let's see if we get that. And indeed we do. 12.7%. Pretty neat. All right, and I think for my final trick, my final string formatting trick, I'm going to format a series of values to look like a phone number, at least a phone number in the United States, with an area code, 3 values, a dash, and then 4 values. So string my string equals string.format, and then we'll go phone number is, and here we're going to take the first value, and then this is how we're going to format. We're going to use the colon after it, and then I'm going to use a series of pound signs. 1, 2, 3, space 1, 2, 3, dash 1, 2, 3. All right, and then I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. All right, let me make sure that I haven't done anything crazy like forget a quote for my literal string there. Okay. Looks good. Now let's run it. And something is not quite right. Let's take a look at what I did wrong here. Oh, there was an extra. I forgot one of these. And so do you see how it went from right to left and tried to fill in all the numbers we had? If I add one more and then run it, now it formats it correctly. So make sure you test that to make sure the number of values here equal the number of values here. Otherwise, let's just get rid of a 0 and see what happens to our phone number. I'm guessing it's going to be a 2-digit area code, and it is. So remember that it goes from right towards the left to fill in those values. Okay, pretty neat. All right, and so I think that pretty much wraps up this video. For more information on string.format, take a look at this MSDN article. In particular, if you scroll down, there is some great additional articles in this notes section, standard numeric format strings and custom numeric format strings. Also, I've looked online and there are 2 or 3 people out there with blogs that have cheat sheets that give you a real quick rundown of all the possibilities with examples. I use that from time to time, okay? Even myself, I don't remember all this stuff. I'll have to look it up either on MSDN or I think I downloaded somebody's cheat sheet. It looked good, and I started using it, and it helped me through, you know, when I'm trying to pull my hair out and figure out how do I get the number to look right, okay? So you might have to do something like that too. All right, so we're going to continue on this theme in the next video. We'll see you there.